Hey guys, welcome to another POV review, this time of the brand new BMW M240i. The replacement of the M235i, and well, it looks pretty much the same. New headlights, restyled bumpers, but I think it looks really cool. Just don't really like the white, but you know, that's a matter of taste. And we're here shooting this car, so I'm going to take a couple of Facebook pics and Instagram pics. I have to say, it's quite a photogenic car. It's short, it has good ratios, you know, quite a long bonnet, relatively short rear end. Yeah, looks pretty cool. I would get it in, I don't know, blue or black, but there are people who like the white, so I really like the rear end of the car with those cool and performance exhausts. Yep, new rear lights as well, I believe, with those sleek lines. Grey wheels. Yeah, I think it looks really cool. You can definitely see that it's not a regular BMW, but it's not really shouty or over the top. So let's go for a drive. Ah, the lovely BMW chime, which is just incredibly annoying. So you immediately get that rumble from the exhaust, which is pretty nice. So we have a lovely road here. You probably know it because we come here quite often, but you know, why not? So I'm in, let's put it in efficient Eco Pro mode, and we can watch the efficient dynamics. We can even decide and configure the Eco Pro settings. So there is a limit, an Eco Pro limit at 130 kilometers per hour. So that's pretty ridiculous. Switch that off. Eco Pro climate control, and this is, I don't know really how to translate this, but rolling out in free something. So when you release the gas pedal, the throttle, it will roll for a long time. I quite like that. So my efficiency is now at 75%. 90% if I set the Eco Pro limit, so that's pretty cool. That's it for the Eco Pro setting. I mean, that's not really our thing. Comfort mode. So 8-speed ZF gearbox is really comfortable. You don't really notice any shifting when you're in comfort mode. It's lovely for a Sunday drive with your woman. If you don't if you can't really push it, then comfort mode is excellent. And I really love the steering feel and feedback in comfort mode. I have said this before, I know, but it's the case with every BMW we drive. The Sport and Sport Plus settings for the steering feel are just way too heavy, and here it is, we encounter a first problem with the M240i, which is I cannot configure the sport setting, or I can, but I can't configure everything. I can just say I want the drivetrain and the chassis, or just the drivetrain or just the chassis in sport mode, but I can't configure my steering feel like in M cars, proper M cars. And I just really don't like the Sport and Sport Plus steering feel. So yeah, that's a downside, but you know, nitpicking really. So even when you're in comfort, the automatic gearbox really shifts well and picks up nicely. Shifts down when you want to, shifts up when you want to, and it's just relaxing. You can do half throttle, 3/4 of a throttle, and it just will nicely pick up. It's not laggy or anything. It's really nice. So the M240i has been given an update. Last version, M235i, had the N55 3-liter inline 6 twin scroll turbo engine with 326 horsepower. This is the B58 engine from the 340i we drove a couple of months ago and we absolutely loved. So I had high expectations for this car. It now has 340 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque, which are pretty serious numbers. I mean, compared to an M2, it has only 30 horsepower less, and it's I don't know exactly how much because there are a lot of different numbers floating around, but it's at least 20 to 30 kilograms lighter than an M2, maybe more. So we have nice roads here. Let's put it in sport, and let's put the gearbox in sport, and I will show you the sports display where you can see the horsepower and newton meters. And again, the gearbox and the engine work together fantastically. I have it in the sport setting of the transmission now, and it doesn't shift too early, and it doesn't shift too late. It shifts at just the right time, which is really nice, because sometimes in the sport setting of a gearbox you have the problem that the gearbox doesn't rev up the way you want to, or doesn't shift up the way you want to. So this is really nice, and you notice the gearbox is shifting quicker as well. And that sound is really nice, man. This engine is really just a peach. Listen to that. I know BMW feeds you some fake sounds through the speakers, but you know, when it sounds like this, I really don't have a problem with it. It's just lovely. Let's put it in Sport Plus and do some real driving with the pedals, of course, behind the steering wheel. So, or let me show you launch control first. So we put it back in S and Sport Plus, and it's real easy. Just come to a full standstill, really press the brakes really firmly, and then full throttle and release. And that should be 4.6 seconds to 100 kph or 62 miles an hour, which is seriously quick. It's 0.2 of a second quicker than the M235i. But here's some inside information. If you get the M240i with X-Drive, it will do 4.4 seconds to 100 kph, which is just 0.1 of a second slower than an M2. Now, this launch control revs it up to just 2000 RPM, which I think is ridiculous. It should be at least 2.5 to 3000 RPM to be able to get the fastest time this car would get. But I think it would be too close to the M2 if they would do that. So I think they have tweaked the launch control a bit there to protect the M2. So performance-wise, the M240i and the M2 are pretty close to each other, I think. The big difference between an M240i and an M2 are the chassis, the gearbox and the limited slip differential. I think the handling is the biggest difference between the M2 and the M240i. I think performance-wise, they are really, really close. And to drive every day, to use as your go-to-work car and drive some roads like these, I think the M240i would be the better choice. I think it's a lot smoother and it's more comfortable. Don't want to hit these old people. Hello. So when you think of it, and when we get to the price, I can only speak for the Netherlands, of course. What we would do, this car starts at around 58,000 euros, and the M2 starts at a whopping 80,000 euros, which I think is really a lot. So that's a difference of over 20,000 euros, and that for me would be a deal breaker. I would definitely go for an M240i, but I know that, for example, in the US an M2 costs only $51,000 and an M240i would be around 44, 45, 46, somewhere along those lines. So it would make sense to get an M2. Here though, I think performance-wise this car is so close to an M2 and it just ticks all the boxes. So I would get this one. Or, better yet, I would take an M140i, a 5-door, which I think would be just fantastic. With X-Drive, which is not available on the M2 yet. Maybe they will, but for now it isn't. So, for me there are 3 reasons to get this car over an M2. 1. If you want a convertible, there is no M2 convertible, so you should get an M240i. 2. If you want X-Drive, you should get an M240i, M140i, because there is no M2 with X-Drive. And number 3, this engine, I think, is better than the engine in the M2. I think this B58 is just lovely, one of the best engines produced in the past 10 years. I think it captures the BMW straight 6 feel. It's quick through the rev range. It's not laggy. It has a slightly bigger turbo than the N55 engine as well. It's now 2,998 cc's, if I'm not mistaken, and the N55 was 2,979. So it's a little bit bigger, just a little bit closer to the advertised 3 liters. Yep, this would be my car. For this price, it's absolutely lovely. Man. Oh yeah, there were a couple of people who asked me to open the windows when I was doing a POV review, because you wanted to hear the sound. So, I will. I think the wind noise would get it the overhand, but there you have it, the M240i. One of my favorite cars of the moment. I think it's really enjoyable, it's playful, it's fast, it's nice to look at. So let me know, guys, what would you buy? Would you go for an M2? Would you go for an M240i? And why? And also, please let us know where you live, so you know we can see the differences in price and in preference. Thanks for watching. I'm going to enjoy this car for a bit more, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.